I saw him present this program at the migration. He does a lot. I mean, how many instructors? 45 or huge school. So training instructors, teaching them how to effectively transmit to their students. And I'm going to just let him take it over a little.
All right. Well, let's take a look at what they have to say. People skills. Got that one right up. Subject matter expertise. Pretty close. We've got assessment skills. And then lastly, what we're going to focus on today is the management. Are they doing this just for the fun? Are they doing it because they want to be able to travel? What is their learning style? Do they want to hit it hard, drive, don't sugarcoat the debriefs? Or do they, hey, let's just kind of take it easy every once in a while, let's not do a lesson, let's go fly someplace for lunch, kind of an attitude? Knowing that up front is a key element to being able to more effectively align. So I've already been given the 5-minute warning. So develop an individualized plan for that student. So at least you've got a plan starting out, then adjust it as obstacles are encountered, not if. They're always going to be encountered. So adjust the plan as you go. Discuss it at the end of each lesson, what you're going to do on the next lesson. Send them away with homework, and this is what we're going to do to modify the plan if we need to. If the student cancels, just kind of a little follow-up phone call is really helpful. You okay? And then use some of the options to maintain the momentum instead of just racking up a string of cancellations.
But how many times do we give students an opportunity to practice that? Not often. The instructors who figured this out figure out how to do it. How can we simulate a high-density altitude takeoff? Sure, partial power. Absolutely. And it's an eye-opening aha moment. And the result of all of this is that. Can be. It doesn't always, but that can be the result. That's what we've got to realize, is if we don't do these things, then that can be the result. Key questions. What is our stall speed? Rich already took my thunder here in talking about when those numbers that come out of the POH occur. They only occur in a very defined set of circumstances. But the follow-on question is, I think, more interesting when you say to an applicant, would it ever be different from that number? And if so, why? And see what you get, because if they know about the effect of G-loading and weight, configuration, things of that type, you'll get a more informed answer than the rote recitation of VSO and VS1. Where might we be at risk? What might happen? And how would you recognize? Those are all key questions.
Anyway, one of the major purposes of our get-together is not just to have fun and eat pastries, but it's to reduce loss of control. And as we all know that have been in the business for a while, loss of control is way too big a basket. I mean, it includes VFR into IFR. It includes mechanical failures. So we're going to cut that down a little bit and say that what we're really focusing on here is what we used to call maneuvering flight. Remember when they said, the #1 accident cause was... Those are the kind of watchwords for the whole seminar, and you can see it's all kind of very serious stuff. We got to be committed. We've got to be serious about this. It's not all fun and games, because loss of control is a very personal thing. Somebody died. Somebody died. Somebody signed their book. Somebody signed their book and approved what they were doing, and they went in. Anybody lost a student? Yeah. Yeah, serious stuff. It gets very personal. And it doesn't do anything good for you. It doesn't do anything good for the industry. So we really want to cut down on that or not.
So to the panel, the first question I'm going to ask is, what's the difference between teaching to the test and teaching to proficiency? And we'll ask whoever wants to give a go on that. And what I would like to do is take a more pilot-centric approach to the discussion, right? In other words, I don't want to treat the trainee as if they need to become an aeronautical engineer to fly an airplane, any more than any of us need to understand programming language to use any of the Microsoft Office products, right? We're training users. Now, that doesn't preclude us from drilling down into some of the other material as appropriate. But I want us to think in terms of user-centric, pilot-centric approach here. And one of the basic premise for that is this, is that flying doesn't happen to the pilot, it happens because of the pilot. How many of us, maybe we've asked the question ourselves, we've maybe heard other pilots So let's take a look at one hop around the traffic pattern and see what kind of turning we do. Let's say we rotate for takeoff. Aren't we doing a little piece of a vertical turn? Very small piece. Some airplanes you don't have to rotate, they'll just kind of levitate on themselves. So we get out here in the upwind to the crosswind, we're still climbing. Well, that's an oblique turn, isn't it? It's kind of like a chandelle, isn't it? Right? So things are not compartmentalized, they're related in some way. And if we can make those connections with pilots, I think that'll be even better. And a lot of times when we're flying, we will call them, the points are ground reference, right? There's a point on the ground around which we're going to be doing this oblique climbing turn. And if we want to fly a rectangular pattern, shouldn't we be flying relative to that ground reference with some kind of a wind-corrected turn, wind-corrected bank angle? Who's buying our drinks? Judy. First round's on Judy. Sorry, Ken. So speaking of ground reference maneuvers, is there a reason that we teach pilots how to fly a turn around a point? Isn't this part of that turn around a point if we want to fly a rectangular pattern and not some sort of skewed parallelogram because of the wind? So we can bring that in here. So maybe our performance is such that by the time we get to the crosswind to downwind turn, we're level flight, so it's a horizontal turn, wind corrected. Same thing on the other end, right? We haven't started our descent yet, but now base to final, we are starting that oblique descending, so kind of a reverse chandelle. And on those rare occasions, when a trainee actually flares an airplane, okay? And in the particular, whatever the configuration is, right? Maybe it's wings level flight. This is all going to change based on altitude, all the usual suspects, right? Altitude, configuration, whether we're banked or not banked. This blue curve is something I like to add. This is the power excess. So if we're on the green curve, the blue curve represents the difference between what we can get versus what we need for constant altitude. So it's the excess power. And again, we can delve into this and go in a lot of different directions and come up with a lot of performance speeds and why they do what they do from that. What if we put the two diagrams together? Is it flying a three-dimensional activity? And so let me represent the airplane by the gold ball in space. It's doing something. I can't draw an airplane, but it could be doing anything. The gold ball. At any point in flight, can't we project something on each of those pictures? We can say, oh, if we want to talk about this, we're doing that. If we're, right? In this particular case, let's assume that that's the power required for level flight in wings level flight, right? Power required for constant altitude, wings level flight. We're at 1 G if we read this here, right?